PTS did end up going back up thankfully, so I am able to make some PTS videos. We're going to be talking about the Furia buff in this one and the Barrack buffs in the next one. So, in case you don't know, in the next update, Furia is receiving a buff to her Cherish talent that'll give it a 300% increased range, the same as Seris Mortal Reach. Now, this right here is more or less Furia's max heal distance with the talent. It's probably a few feet off, but you guys get the idea. Basically, as long as you can get line of sight of Furia on any map, Furia can heal you. I think the only real exception for this would be Fish Market. Now I have to say, the talent felt really good. It felt a lot like old Furia back when her heal distance was 175 and not 120. Except of course way better. When that distance nerf first happened, it was instantly noticeable and many Furia players, myself included, really didn't like it. That was around the time I dropped Furia. Now with this talent you are able to get that old feel back. You don't have to worry about people being a little bit out of range anymore, or having to put yourself a little too deep into danger in order to heal somebody. Some of you expressed concerns about this conflicting with Furia's playstyle of being relatively close to the fight, because this talent at first glance encourages you to stand far back and heal. Well, that is something you could do if you decided to, but you definitely don't have to. You probably wouldn't want to either, since it'd be way harder to deal damage and land stuns. Even with this talent, I was basically playing Furia the same way. I was relatively close to my team and the fight while staying behind my team. I was dealing damage, getting stuns out there, but I was still making use of the bonus heal distance. There's this big thing with Furia, and several supports actually, but I think Furia represents it the best. Being able to spot good opportunities where you know you can get in close, deal damage, land a stun, or frag out is really important. It's something I do a lot. I'll see an opportunity to get a big stun or get a kill and I'll go for it. Then I'll go back to my normal positioning and focus on healing until that opportunity comes again. So I'm still making use of everything Furia has to offer. I find those moments to take advantage of her being a DPS support in between healing and making use of the bonus heal distance on the talent. There are several moments throughout the gameplay in the background of this video where I do this. Now of course, mistakes can be made. A situation could be misread, and I could end up getting killed over it. It happens to the best of us. But as long as you're reading the situations properly more often than not, then you're doing a good job. This also ties into her ultimate in a way. Some of the best Furia ultimates are used in situations where both you and your team can dive into the enemy and frag out. Some people use it for survival and that's fine as long as you're not staggering yourself or wasting it. If you can use it to survive while also empowering your teammates to win the fight, that's really valuable too. Now going back to Cherish specifically. Also keep in mind that teams aren't often super grouped up. Often teams are split, pushing down different lanes. Or maybe they're zoning while you're on the objective. You're not always going to be able to be close to everyone all the time, no matter how hard you try to be. Think of all the times your team has been out zoning and you want to heal them so bad but they don't fall back. Or you're with your main tank near the payload but your off tank and your DPS are pushing a far off lane in order to keep the enemy's attention off the payload, and your heal can't hit them. Or you have a Wormjet's Drogos on the team hugging the skybox so you can't heal him. With this talent, you don't have to worry about any of that unless there are walls blocking your line of sight to them. So that's another big reason why this talent is still good, while not breaking Furia's normal playstyle. Again, you don't have to be super far back away from your entire team, just because you have 300 bonus distance. And I do encourage everyone to not play like that. You could, and you could go on a big streak, but remember everything I've said so far about dealing damage, stunning targets, getting kills. All of that is pretty impossible if you choose to play like your stereotypical Genos player and stand super far back. Not saying every Genos is like that of course, there's many people who play Genos similar to how many people play Furia, and it could pay off really well on him too. I do also want to point out that this talent is stronger on Furia than it is on Seris, because if you're picking it up on Seris, then you're giving up utility from Agony, or damage and survivability from Soul Collector. With Furia though, her utility and damage are in her base kit, so picking the bonus heal distance takes none of those things from you. If anything, it adds more utility because you'll be able to use your beams for stunning more often, since you're not going to be using them to heal. Now, many people did want the healing bonus to be upped from 25% to 30-35% on top of getting the bonus distance. I did try to get that too, it didn't happen, but look at it this way. Your total healing output is still going up, way up. With more distance, you can get more heals off, meaning you're going to be doing a lot more total healing. This talent makes you a lot more effective when it comes to keeping your team up, without the risk of your teammates dodging your Solar Blessing beam heals. Now of course, the heal from the beam is a lot stronger than the right-click heal, but this leaves you with a real choice when it comes to her talents. And that's something Furia hasn't really had. There's basically always been one go-to talent for her at any point in time. When the next update hits, you could pick Solar Blessing and get really powerful stationary heals, but it's risky because hitting those beams depends on a few different factors. Or you could pick Cherish and you only have right-click heals, that are way weaker than Solar Blessing, but they're much more reliable and consistent. The map could also be a big factor on what you pick. When it comes to big maps like Fish Market and Timbermill, Furia normally kinda sucks because it's a lot harder to land beams on those big maps. But with Cherish, Furia becomes a viable pick on these maps. On more close quarters maps where you might not need the distance as much, like Bright Marsh or Jaguar Falls, you could decide to pick up Solar Blessing since the beams don't have to go very far to hit your teammates. For those maps that are in the middle, you could really go with either or, depending on what you personally prefer or what your team comp is like. If you have two tanks that are really easy to hit with beams, like Inara and Terminus, you may want to go Solar Blessing. If you have two very aggressive tanks that are always moving around, like Ruckus or Ash for example, you may want to go Cherish. You may also want to pick it up if you have a 3 DPS comp, since right clicks are of course way more effective for healing DPS characters than Solar Blessing is. Having a choice is big in any game, and when I was pushing for this buff, that's what I had in mind, giving Furia players a choice. I have met plenty of Furia players who really didn't like feeling locked into Solar Blessing. I've also met many Furia players who found Solar Blessing very frustrating, and the same thing goes for people being healed by Solar Blessing. They found the talent very frustrating too. So I really wanted to make it possible for Furia players to decide how they want to heal, whether it be high risk, high reward, or low risk, solid reward. Anyway, those are my initial thoughts on the Furia buff. As time goes on, things could become different. I am very excited to see exactly where Furia ends up being in terms of viability with this talent. I'd also like to know your guys' initial thoughts on the talent as well, so feel free to let me know in the comments below. I'll go ahead and start working on the Barrack video now, so look forward to that. And yeah, that's pretty much it guys. I want to thank you all for watching, I very much appreciate it, and I'm gonna see you guys laters. Bye!